What's up, everybody? I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and welcome to The Right Mindset. Today, we are going to go over the fourth step in writing a script, specifically plot and outline. You might be thinking, can't I just watch your other outline videos? Yes, you can watch those. But this particular video is going to go over how to refine a script's outline and plot to make the script feel full and complete. So, let's do it. Let's develop the right mindset. Yeah. All right. So today's lesson is step 4 to the writing process of getting a script created. Obviously, a big, massive thank you to everyone that's watching. If you're new to the channel or you've been watching for quite some time and you really like what you're watching, please hit the subscribe button and that bell icon so you don't miss out. Let's get right into it, shall we? Oh, the steps to an outline. All right. Now, again, this is just a variation of whatever works for you. You have to do your research and find what you like and what feels comfortable for you to write out your outlines, because, well, maybe you're a pantser, and even if you are a pantser, you should have some sort of general outline, but you don't necessarily have to be as we call it, an architect. The outline, you don't have to be somebody that's like, hey, everything is plotted out, let me write my story. But you should know your big beats, your big moments. Obviously, you should know the world they live in. You should know the climax or the midpoint, and you should know how the book is going to end at minimum. But how you get there, write it off the hip if you want. However, I got an itchy nose today. Look at that. It's called wintertime. All right. However, if you have an interest in actually writing a full outline, these are some steps to help you with that outline. This is one tool to use to make sure your outline is going to be full and complete. Start with a beat sheet, okay? A beat sheet gives you the broad strokes of your overall screenplay. You'll write action, character growth, and narrative beats with this section. Start with the first beat of the story or jump around, whatever feels natural to you. These are just the things that you kind of want to happen in your story. I personally, when I do my beat sheet, I'll start off with a generalized brainstorming. Now, obviously, a script and a novel are different. So I do have slightly similar approaches to both, but depending on the format, I do have some divergence. But in this situation, what I like to do is I brainstorm basically what I want to see happen. And with a novel, you just have a more long-form version of a storytelling. With a script, you're condensed to, you got to get it all in. You got to either get 90 minutes, 120 minutes, or maybe you have a television show. So there's a different way of kind of presenting the information. Therefore, when I brainstorm for a script, I like to kind of keep it simple and right to the point, and then I organize it into how I want it to look, story-wise, narratively, and then I'll continue the beat sheet by adding elements, for example, actions that I might want to happen in that beat, or character growth that's important, and I will generalize it. For example, I would like to see a fight between character A and character B that ends with a moment of where you realize they don't like each other, but they respect each other. So that's generalized. I might even know the character A, character B's name, and I'll put down, Jim and Christopher fight, or Melissa and Jen, they fight, and during that battle, they discover something very important. They may not like each other, but they absolutely respect each other, and they see their strengths and weaknesses. And that fight could be, maybe I'll write, maybe try this mentally, maybe try the fight physically, maybe try the fight be something that they have to do for an event or a team or whatever the case may be. And it becomes one of those, competitive attitudes, right? So maybe whatever the case may be. I think in Game of Thrones they did in the show Game of Thrones, not a Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones. In the show, there's a moment where the Hound and the Mountain in season 1, spoiler alert, the Mountain ends up killing a horse because he fell off the horse during a tourney, jousting, and he went after somebody, and the Hound jumped down and fought him and protected him. So there was like a whole bunch of stuff going on there. You had the tournament, you had the competition, you had the people that were considering so-and-so their champion, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of great elements there that may or may not be a chance to discover. The Hound and the Mountain may not like each other, but they understand the power that they wield, right? Or whatever the case may be. The second thing are, hey pup, the doggy's up. Hey Boobala, you want to come over here? Come here. Come in your spot. Now, when I say index cards, I mean either the physical index card, which I see a lot of writers do, especially in writing room. Now, this next one is something I am saying index cards, but you can do a physically, or you could do it mentally, or you could do it on a screen. I do it. I have done it all different ways. I've seen this mostly in writing rooms or offices of authors. They'll just have like cards everywhere. But in a writing room, it's sort of like the index card, and they'll write the beats, and they'll just put them in order, or they'll move them around as needed. I kind of do this with my motivations for my characters, and I allow those to be moved on. I have a spreadsheet that I use, and I have several monitors, so I like to have them all open with everything. But anyway, if you use an index card or a variation of the index card, it's a helpful 3D visual aid to help with tracking plot lines, mostly because you could just look up and you see it and you go, where is it? Oh, maybe I want to move this. One trick is to use specific colored index cards for different narratives, basically A, B, C, and D stories, etc. Take the beat sheet notes and write down simplified narrative beats on each card, then place them in chronological order. So basically the beats, you kind of map that out, figure out what you want to do generally. Pop those on an index card or place that in a spreadsheet and move it around as you see fit. And obviously this can change. Now, once you have it organized, you got to create the scene by scene descriptions, right? Now, look at your index card as a guide to lay out the beats within each scene in your writing program or Word doc. Each scene should get a scene header, just as you would do so in your actual script. Under each scene header, bullet point what actually happens in the scene, action, what characters and audiences would learn, etc., etc. Work out the index card notes into movement within a scene, but in long form, you're not writing a script yet. If dialogue comes to you during the process, feel free to do so. Now, something I think you should understand is, I don't know if any of you use Final Draft. If so, I'm going to show you a quick something, basically what's being laid out here. When it comes to your index card, right? It would just be generalized information. You'll just be like, hey, this has to happen, and this has to happen. If you saw last week's video, you might recall I did a sectional action beat for a novel, and I broke down basically Morbius, right? So if I was going to show that again, which would be here, Act 1, Section 1. Okay. Boop. All right. As an example. Okay. All right. As an example, this is what it would look like. This is so the index card would be this. Begins with movement. The moment Morbius turns into a vampire, it would be interesting to show the people he hired being scared of the area, but Morbius is not scared. That is ultimately the plot beat. This is the way you kind of just add that beat sheet. You go, oh, I kind of need this, right? And then you would write out, uh, these are things that need to happen. These are the scene by scene descriptions, okay? And there it is, simply. He arrives in a helicopter. We need to show that. He has a team of professional soldiers for hire. We need to show that and establish that. It appears he has financing. We should establish that, which means we see some crazy tech, which, by the way, we would have to seed later in the script, right? So if, for example, I were to use this in a screen program, right? Like a screenwriting program. Okay. New. Let me open that up and do a screen share for you. Okay. This is just real quick, and then we'll. Dun, 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 dun. All right, there you go. All right, so the header would be exterior, right? And then cave entrance. Entrance. Oh, no, I spelled that right. Cave entrance, right? And maybe it's midday, or let's say it's nighttime. Why not? Or did you say it's night? I think it's day, actually. It's daytime. All right. So uh, before I write the script, I would just start putting all of that in there, and it would look like this. These are just the notes that I would have, and then I would reach those notes. Can I generalize? Yeah, I think you can. All right. General. He has to arrive in a helicopter. You could even beat it out like that. You could be like, all right, just so you know what you want, and as you write it. Now, I like to write over it. You know, for example, if I was writing, let me zoom this in for you. If I was writing, I would definitely have it below me, because then you could just be like, a helicopter flies over the mountain range. Right, cave entrance. Okay. It lands directly, or it lands near the cave entrance, close to an edge, which doesn't really matter because in the movie it doesn't play out like the cliff doesn't matter, which is interesting that they would infer the danger of a cliff. But anyway, so the helicopter rides. They have the same group of professional soldiers exit the helicopter. Okay, and then Morbius, or Michael Morbius. He's a stupid name. Let's say 30s. Exits the assistance of soldiers. He uses walking sticks, or whatever they're called. I don't know. I would have to do research on that. But anyway, so now I know I got rid of this. Okay. We're gonna find out that they're hired in a moment, but it appears he has financing. All right, well, let's go with that. The main plot, Morbius says, the plot agrees that he turns the tech on. The flying bats. Okay, we don't see the sticks yet. All right. So, when I'm writing that script out, that's just basically I just follow the beats out that I already have, and it might even get to, again, I don't remember the words, the dialogue, but open the device over there. Okay, whatever it is. Device. Device over there. All right, soldier one, whatever. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. Then pilot, right? Is that pilot? Pilot. Okay. We have to get out of here. Oh no, he says paint me now. I'm not sticking around, right? Okay, and I think that's just to establish this bit. He goes, I'll pay you once you give me your knife, right? And then deal. And then pilot hands Morbius. Morbius, his knife. Pilot, Morbius takes a wad, cash out, and hands it to the pilot. Wad. Oh, that's right. All right. Anyway, so now we know they're professionals and hired. Okay, it appears he has financing because of the money and the crazy tech. Place that over there. Yes, sir. Soldier. Okay. This seems advanced. Expensive. All right. Pay me now, the pilot says. Okay. The main pilot wants to get out of there. He says he'll be happy to. Knife pilot gives him over his mummy. Okay, but there you go. He gives him mummy. Anyway, there you go. That's what that would look like. So scene by scene description would be the writing like this. You would just kind of just put it into the scene. This is the scene, right? Okay. And then once you're ready to write it, which we're not on the writing stage, but once you're ready to write it, you just look at the notes and you just kind of write it out, and you add. This is your first draft, so you don't have to add all the crazy flavor. However, you can. You're welcome to. Okay. All right. Let's remove that. Stop scaring me. Okay. And I could close that. No, I don't want to save it. Okay. Anyway, so you look at your index cards. Each scene should get a scene header, just as you would do so on your actual script. Under each scene header, bullet point what actually happens, and then work out the notes into the scene. Okay, just like I did. And obviously, it gets easier and easier once you kind of follow the notes, because you're like, the notes are right there, and then you just kind of like go down and explain the notes coming, and you place it into script format. All right, elements to keep in mind. Plot points. If you followed my channel or do follow my channel, you'll know I talk about the 27-point outline a lot, by Kate O'Keefe. Those 27 points are story beats that need to be hit. Not necessarily it's not necessarily that those 27 points are equal, as in the time that is meant to be spent on them. It's just that they're beats that need to be in your story, that need to click through. And those beats are exploring the ordinary world to the inciting incident, also known as call to adventure, the reaction to the inciting incident, and so on. You should have these each laid out as a header while you're working on your outline. So you should have that moment, like, what is the ordinary world? And then map that out with your beats, and then bullet point your story beats into each section. So you'll be able to see it kind of coming to life. All right. Story beats are important as well. These are the actual things happening in your story. Remember, the plot points, right? The plot point beats, whatever the plot point, the 27 plot points are the generalization of what needs to happen. So the ordinary world in Morbius, we have to explain. We have to showcase basically that he's an expert, where he comes from, and understand his sickness that he's trying to cure. right? And then we want to also introduce the love interest, his best friend, and the mutual doctor that knows both Milo and Morbius. Right? That's what's basically uh, the points, the 27 points. So that would all be in the ordinary world mapped out, and then you have to story beat those out, and the story beat those out would basically be as previously explained in other videos for this Morbius is in a bed sick and he's apathetic. And Milo shows up and he keeps calling him Milo and he's like, that's not my name. And he's like, it doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? Because everyone dies from the sickness. So he doesn't get close to anyone. You have to establish those beats, right? Your characters have like here's an example. Your character has a dream of becoming a boxer, but loses the hand in a car accident. Then they persevere and still find a way to box. That's basically the gist of the story, right? That's your 1 to 2 sentence main plot. Now we have to story beat that out. The story beat would be we need our plot points first, right? So the story beat would be their ordinary world of dreaming about being a boxer, right? And then now, if that's your plot point, dreaming about being a boxer, right? We have to establish the ordinary world about dreaming about being a boxer. So we want to show the character at a boxing match with their mother or father, or both. We have to showcase the character ends up being brought to a gym as a gift from their parents, and then we can see them training for X amount of time and are really good at boxing. And that's their ordinary world. So we established one of the 27 plot points, which is the ordinary world. Then we did then we showcased the actual story beats, which is let's see him at a boxing match with his parents. Let's see him being rewarded for his passion and the kindness from his parents, and let's watch him train, right? And then we can map those out even further. So what does training looks like? How do we showcase him training? And remember, this all has to be pretty decently quick. It's the opening. It could be up to 17 minutes. You could get a lot in 17 minutes, really. All right. And then the inciting incident is also a plot point, what is the plot point? It happens when they get into a car accident and lose their hand. That's the inciting incident. So now we have to create the story beats, which is they are driving home after a long night of practicing. Another driver is distracted and crashes into them. They are rushed to the hospital and is shown that their hand was destroyed. Okay, now we have to create the scene descriptions. So once we have the plot point, header, and a generalization of what should happen and what we're trying to expose or explain, then we have to have the story beats generally written out like we did. They train for X amount of time, et cetera, et cetera. Now you need to describe your scene so you could get a little bit more depth. And this is another. So what's really nice about this is what I'm trying to show you is the process where you dedicate time to the 27 plot points. You just kind of like generalize and get it out, let the brainstorming happen, right? Then you go to the story beats, and now you could go to a section. You could spend a day or a week or a month on that section and really kind of go, what do I generally want to showcase here? Now you get to go to screen descriptions, which means you could take scene description. You could take literally one scene and spend a day, a week, a month, whatever, 6 months, whatever you feel like spending, you could spend that on this time. And how do we do a scene description? Once you have your story beats worked on within the plot points, you can expand on them. Break down each story beat into scenes. Now, write out what happens in each scene of your script. You might discover you need to add or take away story beats or adjust where they go in the plot points. And that's because you might realize, oh, wait, this feels like it might be later in the story, or this moment might be earlier in the story, or maybe you just wanted to be earlier, and that's fine too, right? An important skill to learn is taking yourself out of the process emotionally and asking yourself if you can cut anything. This is where you might create the idea that you should take yourself out of the process is ultimately like you could be the reason your story ends up sucking because you love the ideas you're coming up with, that your reviews utilize them in a narrative format and you just kind of want it to happen. And then now your story has things happening, but nothing is earned and nothing is worked towards. And maybe it's a scene that you're like, this scene's great, but there's no alluding to that scene being earned or resolved because of that scene. That scene itself doesn't necessarily cause anything for the future, etc., etc. Another aspect of scene description is this is where you might create dialogue samples or even work out scenes in the long run, especially once you have the scene descriptions completed. Another element that you have to keep in mind are character arcs. All right. Character arcs. I personally love to write character arc notes in my scene descriptions once I'm done working out scenes themselves. What I will do is look at what the motivations of my character are, their involvement in the main plot and subplots, etc., etc. Then I go through each scene and I ask myself if those moments are happening, could happen, or don't need to happen yet. Other things I'll look at for the character arcs is look at each scene and see if you are making things happen or if things are happening. Meaning, what does that even mean? Making things happen means there is no real character urgency, drive, or movement. The characters aren't making a choice, For example, the character needs to lose their job, so they are fired. Okay? This scene might not be when the character comes to work, sits at the desk, or whatever, and the boss comes up to them and says, "You are fired." Whereas if things are happening, we're seeing movement, challenges, motivation into action, or are filled with character. I guess the best way to look at that is a character is tired of being pushed around at work and treated less than they're worth, so they ask for a raise and are told no. Then at the end of the day, they stand up for themselves and let the boss have it. As a result, they are fired. That's what it looks like when things are happening. Okay? There is a big difference between I need the character to be fired. Oh, it'd be really awesome if the character's sitting at their desk and they're getting ready to work and they love it. And the boss comes in and goes, "You're fired." And then they're just like, "Son of a bitch." And then the next scene is them leaving the work. Like nothing's really happening. It's just you want this thing to happen. So the emotional truth is, well, give characters choices and motivations. I hate the way I'm treated and I'm not paid enough. So I know I don't care if I lose this job. I need this job, but I don't care if I lose this job. I'm going to stand up for myself. By standing up for himself or herself, it has a reaction. Their choice led to a result, and the result in this situation was negative. Therefore, they lost their job. Right? You're about to see something you don't normally see. I'm drinking water. Instead of diet cherry, wild cherry Pepsi. You want to know your emotional journeys for the characters, what their choices are, and motivations that lead your characters to make choices emotionally or unemotionally, right? Make sure they are shown in both the scenes and the reactions to those things within the scenes. So that's important. While you're mapping out your scenes, you can explore choices. For example, let's just take they aren't happy at their job. I can explore the choices. So I write, let's say Jim. Jim is unhappy at his job, and he doesn't need it. He needs the job, but he doesn't care if he loses it. He wants to stand up for himself, right? That's the premise of the scene. But I could say, how does he express that? One is maybe he comes in late, or maybe he comes in on time and he's still yelled at for something he didn't really do. Then I want to show him hesitant to speak up, and he doesn't, which is seeding the inevitable blow up. Then he gets to his desk, and somebody stole, somebody took his monitor because their monitor broke. So now he has to go and find another monitor. And while he's looking for monitors, it turns out the only monitors available are older models. And he plugs it in. He's like, fine. He plugs it in, and half the screen is messed up. And he's just like, "Oh, this is getting ridiculous." So I'm mapping out like the evolution of their disdain. And then finally, they're just like, if I'm going to stay at this job, I need more money. So I need to say something. And then maybe the first interaction with the boss is, hey, can we talk? I have to talk with you. And the boss is like, nah, not right now. I'm busy, showing that like no interest in what they have to say. And they're like, Arr. So it takes until the end of the day going, hey, I know we're leaving. And he's like, I have to go home. I'm done with my day. And Jim is like, no, listen, I need to talk to you. I need a raise. And the boss is like, okay, and then something ensues from there. And the emotional result is that they're fired. So it's good to look at what you want to accomplish and then say, how do I lead up to that? And how do I make things happen? Other elements to keep in mind when you're working on your outline for your script is act breaks. Are your acts doing their job? So here's some things to think about within each act. Act 1 is all about establishing the protagonist's ordinary world, who they are, what they do, and the life where they are capable of what they do, even if what they are capable of fails. So we want to see that they are capable of what is to come for them to achieve their success, but not necessarily have to see their successes. We need to see some sort of element of a value in them, even if they're being treated like crap or they're not necessarily good at their job or whatever the situation is. We still have to witness something within them that is capable so they are able to learn, right? You have to prove their value. You can't just out of nowhere be like, hey, they could do this. Even if their capable ordinary world is they are being bullied every day, still show what they are capable of to establish potential to overcome. All right. Then challenge that ordinary world that places pressure on the protagonist to take action or not take action in accepting the change. So to sum that up, Act 1 is ultimately, who are they? What is their world, their themes? What is the inciting incident? And how do they react to that inciting incident? That's basically, that's the slimmed down version. Act 2 is all about conflict, the ascending rise to the conflict itself, and the ascending fall from conflict. Basically, if you want to have trials and tribulations, they would go here. Seeing them getting challenged often would go here. Being pushed to make choices, please have your characters make choices. That would all go here. Then the thing that makes it so there is no turning back happens, which is the midpoint. This is the everything has changed so much they cannot go back to their ordinary world. Basically who they were before. Now they have to deal with the results of what had happened in the midpoint. And really to simplify Act 2, a lot of stuff has to happen leading to the midpoint that justify the midpoint and justify their behavior. And they have to be challenged to show that they are growing. Typically, the descending element of the midpoint is that they're in a tougher situation. When they're rising, there's accomplishment and you're seeing success. When they're falling, they're dealing with the results of the midpoint. And ultimately, we want to see what they are capable of and how they are being challenged to that capability. Act 3 is their resolution to the conflict and all that has occurred because of said midpoint conflict. We got to see the result of that, right? This is the final battle, mentally, physically, or against the foe or element that is the antagonistic force in the story. And finally, the world after the final battle is known as the resolution, the immediate reaction to the decision that led to victory or loss of the final battle. To simplify Act 3, everything that happened in Act 2 led to this moment. And they have to have a reflection on that moment. A reflection doesn't mean they're thinking like, oh, no. But a reflection is, what is the direct reaction to everything that has happened in Act 2? Where is it leading them to? Which is ultimately the final battle and them coming to terms with that. They have to do the final battle, be it mentally, physically, or against themselves, against the foe or an element. And then obviously, what is the resolve? What is their new world once they defeat the final battle? It's pretty simple. All right, final thoughts. How can these tips help you refine your script to be full and complete? They are deeper One second. My chair was falling. They are a deeper inspection into the process of both what you should be writing and how to look at it afterwards. It's all right. This is what I want to happen. Let me analyze it. Let me challenge it. Let me brainstorm on it. And then it'll eventually become something that you want to write or can write. Take these notes, these ideas that I gave you, the steps to the outline and the elements to keep in mind as options. But whatever you do choose and hear from me or anyone else, research, research, research so you can learn more about the process. This is only one perspective, one set of tools that are available out there for writers. These just so happen to be the ones that work best for me right now. Obviously, as I learn more, I will evolve just like anybody. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and there's things I learn all the time that I want to try to see what that feels like, okay? To get the overall control of your script, you need to analyze your sections. It's not so much the idea that comes to you that makes a good story. It's the challenge against what you come up with to make it better. The idea might be great to you when you first say it and write it down, but now challenge it. See which ways you can go. And you'll realize that you're evolving your story and making something more than just things happening. Now, things are happening, but nothing is happening. Well, now things are truly being earned. Okay. Once you finish any outline, go back and challenge what you have written. Try and disprove what you wrote as useless. Look for loopholes, weak spots, and remove yourself from the emotional equation. It's okay if something isn't working. It really is. Even if you love it because it's a cool moment. Make your story work first, then add the coolness of your voice after. Script outlines are about laying out the foundation of getting the main plot from point A to point Z, or Z, then adding your subplots. I like to do that. I like to focus on my main plot, and then I go back and add my subplots. After that, the actual writing aspect of the process is where you can add your true voice as a writer. Okay. Woo! The next video in the series will be writing your first draft. That's right. The video will go over what you should be focused on when writing your first draft, goal setting, and giving some insight into what you should be looking for while you work through the script writing process. Question: what is your favorite movie or television show that you feel should have spent a little more time developing its scripts, even though you love the show? Let me know in the comments below. And you want to learn a little bit more about improving your craft, insight to the industry, and hearing from fellow authors as per our The Right Mindset podcast, where we interview authors. Please subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out. I guess that's it. All right. As always, I love you. Thank you so much. And keep developing the right mindset. See you next time. Bye.